ESPN's College Football Power Index just came out, or FPI for short, and this has a huge impact on the perception of conferences and how the college football playoff shakes out. But what is it? Why does it matter? Does it matter? And does it get it right or wrong? Let's get into it. We're in a day and age where people bombard you with numbers, analytics, and everything else, but we got to dig into what actually matters and what doesn't matter. Because ESPN's College Football Power Index is a predictive ranking system, and the FPI ranks teams throughout the season based on expected points added, offense, defense, special teams value, and in college football, factors like recent historical success, returning starters, recruiting classes, and coaching continuity play into it too. Now, this video is not going to get into the technical jargon. This is going to get into how the manipulation of the perception of things happens when you get numbers like this. Over the last 25 years or so, the SEC has been looked at as the premier college football conference because of the amount of national championships won, and they have clearly had the best team in college football more often than the other conferences, despite the conference being extremely top heavy. This year, 11 of the top 20 teams in ESPN's 2024 FPI are in the SEC. And for a predictive model, it seems pretty ridiculous to assume that over half of the country's top 20 will come from one conference, even if it is the mighty SEC, when you have the Big Ten, which is also absolutely stacked. According to ESPN's description, the FPI represents how many points above or below an average team is. And the projected results are based on 20,000 simulations of the rest of the season using FPI, results to date, and the remaining schedule. But what it doesn't include on the college level are things like injuries and weather, which we all know can have a big effect on outcomes. So the model isn't perfect, but it does illustrate the advantage that the SEC has secured itself by playing an 8-game conference slate instead of the 9 that most of the other conferences play. Because you are going to have your teams have less losses, which the numbers and the analytics appear to be better as opposed to winning against quality opponents. So when you're only judged against yourself, you're going to look better. And if you go back, the 2023 FPI rankings also finished last year's conference championship week with the eventual runner-up, Washington, at number 13 and only nailing one of the 4 college football participants, and that was Michigan. So seeing that this is clearly flawed on the surface, why do we put so much stock in the FPI? It's gambling. It's always about the money. Gambling's a big part of it. The money always matters. And in its first 4 years, from 2013 to 2016, in games that the FPI favorite and the Vegas favorite differed, the FPI favorite won 55% of the time. Now, the FPI is a big part of a gambler's balanced breakfast, but gamblers also use the term I used earlier, manalytics, when they're evaluating outcomes. All data is relevant, but sometimes the brain has to take over and make critical decisions. Gamblers need to do this, especially since the Big Ten is absolutely stacked and jacked, and since between 12 and 14 college football playoff spots are going to be up for grabs. Now, the SEC, it no longer needs to take advantage of a second November cupcake to skew historical data to make sure it gets the lion's share of the odds to place the most teams into the postseason profits. This is why we need uniform scheduling in college football. The analytics and the numbers get better with the uniformity as opposed to outlier data or incomplete data, because one team is playing 8 conference games, one team is playing 10 Power 5 games, while most of the other ones are playing 9 in the SEC. Let's get it together, college football. We need better games.